My job is all about purpose.
Just the ability to make a difference, to help someone be able to go home at the end of the day.
My great-grandfather started the volunteer fire department in Springfield, Nebraska. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle was a fire chief in Atlanta, Georgia. So somewhere down the line, it was my purpose to be doing this.
Yeah, we're a family here.
The data we get from Rapid SOS is life-saving.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
And I think sometimes in our profession, not just 911, but in public safety in general, sometimes we identify so much with that it's almost scary to be on the other side. And this is a weird thing to bring up now, but the Shawshank Redemption, like when he's talking about being institutionalized, like you get so used to a place that when you go to get out there, you don't know who you are anymore. And you see a lot of people go through this.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be episode 651 of Within the Trenches, True Stories from the 911 Dispatchers Who Live Them. This episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS, Safer Together, the leading AI company in public safety. A big shout out to subscribers, as always, for everything. Thank you for just everything that you do. Sharing and commenting, posting, just all of the support. I appreciate you more than you know. And today is April 18th. It's the last day of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week for 2026, and it has been an amazing one. There have been so many things going on. I also did a big giveaway for the Mayan Ranch, which is the 911 leadership training event that is put on by the 360 Dispatcher, hosted by my good buddy Joe Serio. And it's been a lot of fun, and I'm jumping in here really quick because this episode is going to be actually it's going to be a little different. I've done this a couple times before, but you may or may not know I do a live broadcast, which is coming to an end here now that the season for the pit is already over. But we do this live broadcast called Most Important Seconds After the Pit. And what we're doing is we break down episodes. So I'll just say right off the bat, because I always forget, spoiler alert, if you've not watched episode 13 and 14 of season 2, because we break down that episode, not just what is going on in there, but we talk about the technology and connect these pieces people and technology, but also imagining what it was like for some of these calls that are coming in from the beginning of the call in dispatch all the way to when it gets to the hospital. And a warning, at the end, we do talk about a couple heavier things. And we talk about what a lot of people don't usually talk about, which is 911 dispatcher suicide. Already for 2026, there have been 6 people. And, this is just something that someone posted on social media. I'm not sure how, what the circumstances were or anything like that. But um, we end up talking about that towards the end, and is definitely an important conversation that needs to be continued to have. So again, just a warning about what you're going to get into there. And that's more towards the end again. And this episode is with myself, my friend Keely, and also my friend Kelsey. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, thank you for everything that you do. Yo, good morning. What is going on? And welcome back to Most Important Seconds After the Pit. And today we are going to be talking about episodes 13 and 14. Thank you for being patient. And we had a lot of stuff going on last week. We have a lot of stuff that's been going on this week. But I am back here with my co-host, Keely. Good morning. And what is going on, yo?
Good morning, everybody. I almost forgot to push go live at Instagram, so sorry about that. I was like, oh, I have to do that. But that's how chaotic this week has been. I was trying to plan our go lives in community, and like I couldn't get a date right with somebody. It was like there's so many moving parts this week. So I'm grateful to all of you for giving us last Friday off. We had to plan for this past week. It is Telecommunicators Week.
Yay! Happy. Yeah, pyros. Thank you. Yeah. Happy National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And Keely, if you can, for those who are watching and listening who might not know what that is, what is this week specifically all about?
This week specifically is all about our nation's 911 professionals. These guys, like, that are still the guys and gals, excuse me, I don't want to offend anybody. They're just such a pivotal part of the chain of response and first response community. And sometimes they are so not seen because the general public has no idea when they call 911 that they're getting somebody who is a specific 911 professional. And historically, it hasn't always been that way, right? Like, so when you look at how far we've come, we talk about this all the time, how far we've come in technology, but also how far have we come in the profession of 911. And so like this week is that dedicated week to just thank them, see them, respect them, show them all the gratitude in the world, because sometimes it's just not enough. And honestly, 1 week isn't enough, but that's what this week is about.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of different things that happen. The theme days, which is always cool to see. Just everyone showing their love, but also all the food. We were talking a day or two ago about Templeton from Charlotte's Web, and how that's what it feels like. You had mentioned to put it out as it should make a meme, and I put it out there. So that credit goes to you for that. And people thought it was funny. There was someone who responded saying, we have 2 to 3 people out of, I think they said each shift or I don't know, something to that effect, that are GLP-1, I believe is what they said. And they said, so all that food is kind of wasted on us. And I thought, oh, well, what would be a good alternative?
As somebody who takes GLP-1, not really much, because you're not hungry. But high protein, because we have to get our protein in, because that's part of this
bring
process.
In some steaks.
Bring
you in some steaks.
Some chicken, and some barbecue.
Bro, for real. That would be I would be down with that alternative. Like, how about I come in and grill you some steak and eggs?
Yes. Yes. So yesterday you showed me your breakfast meal, and it was, delicious looking.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Chilaquiles is what it's called, and it's basically like these corn chips that are homemade, and it has egg and steak, and just so many different things, all kinds of stuff, and it is super good. And yeah, I kind of miss it right now, but
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to bring it up.
yeah, I know. Yeah. But again, as we're here, like we've been doing every week, we are on our last one that's going to be coming up next week for what we have been doing. And as we have started every single one of these, just as a reminder for everyone, kind of went off on National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week there a little bit. But
we digress.
yes. But for good reason, because it is an important week. But as you said, not just this week, but every single day, to honor all of you for what you do. So thank you for what you do in this profession. But coming back now, full circle, how did we start this from the beginning? Because this was back in January, wasn't it?
I think
We've
so.
been
It was
doing
snowing.
this for months. Yes,
it was
it was.
snowing in Pittsburgh when we were in Pittsburgh. So that I
Yes.
can tell you, like we woke up to like snow early morning on the day that this was it the day this was happening, or was it the day I can't remember. The day we were flying out.
Oh.
It's definitely snow.
Both days. Yeah, it had stuff going on. So take us through this.
So I'm, first of all, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Keely Heyman. I am a marketing manager here at Rapid SOS, and we had this incredible opportunity to support healthcare professionals in a hospital. They were looking for some sponsorship for a special premiere of episode 2 for the Allegheny General Hospital folks, where the pit is designed and actually sometimes filmed. And we, of course, jumped at the chance, right? Any chance we could get to support any chain of the first response, we're absolutely there. And we got to spend all day. And when I say all day, we did not know. We went in originally the day before to just see the setup and see where we had to go. And they were like, oh yeah, 7:30 tomorrow. We were all like, it was like the record stopped. And we, like everybody in the room froze. And we were like, wait, 7:30 in the morning? We thought it was a little bit later in the day because the premiere event was that evening. But it started actually at 7:30 in the morning. By the time Sue Webster and I had gotten there, the room was already full of healthcare heroes. Like, I am talking nurses, doctors, surgeons, administrative staff, you name it, they were there, and we were like squeezing past them to get to our booth so that we could give out some pretty amazing swag. But we got to spend the day with them. They got to ask questions on who we are, and it went all the way into the evening where we were able to view a special screening of something that hadn't released yet, which was the episode 2 of The Pit for season 2. And that is how we get here, because now we're bringing technology and all of this together.
Well done. Look at you.
Ta-da!
That is exactly it. And if you don't know, my name is Ricardo, and I am the creator and host of Within the Trenches podcast, founder of the I Am 911 movement. I'm also a partner with Rapid SOS through Within the Trenches podcast, and I got to be there to do behind the scenes. I was out in Butler County filming a few things as well. And I think, Keely, one of the things that we kept saying towards the end of the evening, or at least rather right before the premiere, the screening, was that, and I can see the both of us moving our feet up and down as I'm talking about this, we kept saying, comfortable shoes. Comfortable shoes. That's how this works. Comfortable shoes. Because by the time we were done, my feet were killing me. And then
it was a long day.
Yeah, and then we go to dinner after the screening. The screening was awesome. Once we got to sit down and everything, I remember myself just going, oh.
Like being able to sit, and my lower back was like, oh, thank you for sitting down. But like, also, you actually got to eat because you were with the cool dispatchers and
that's right.
At Butler County, where they had snacks because it's a dispatch center.
That's right.
I did not have snacks because there were so many people I couldn't leave my booth. We never got to eat. And
Keely
then
had a sugar packet.
I did. It's like we made it at one point. We made it to the cafeteria to get like protein, like shakes of some sort, just to get something in us, or protein bars. I can't remember, but like starving, and we couldn't leave. It was. And I'm not complaining. It was really, we got to meet such amazing people. I mean, like surgeons who had scrubbed out of the OR and come down to spend some time. And like, I am not sad about it, but man, by the time I got to dinner, I was like, give me all the food in my face. Like, and we went to a really cool, like German restaurant. So it was like all German themed food and music.
The amount of kraut and sausage and Wiener Schnitzel and
pretzels, Bavarian pretzels.
Oh my Lord, the pretzels, like pretzels as big as your head. It was awesome. By the time though we were done with food and we went back to the hotel and all, I wanted to pass out, but I had so much to eat at that point. It was like up here. So I needed to wait a little bit until it went down. I think I went back downstairs and got a ginger ale to help with that.
Help that motion.
Yeah, but it was awesome. And you're right, we did. There was like 80 boxes of pizza there at Butler County, and we got a chance to take a box with us. And we were waiting for one of our coworkers to get in the vehicle so that we could head to the hospital. So the camera guy and I are sitting in there, and he's like, "You want a piece of pizza, dude?" And I said, "Yeah, let me take two." But that pizza box stayed in my car all the way up until nighttime. And he goes, "There's nowhere to throw this." And I said, "It's all right, man. I've got kids. I've had enough food in the car that it probably smells like a buffet in here. So backseat pizza is going to be fine." But it was a great experience. And from there, you know, we're asked, you and I, to create kind of this after show to connect the technology, the people, bring it all safer together and make sense of not just the show, but from the call all the way till it gets to some of these episodes and compare those pieces. And man, we have been kicking ass and taking names. I'll just say.
We sure have. We have been showing you what the safety network looks like.
Exactly. And we've got a guest today.
We do have
actually
a guest.
Two guests, depending on. We saw him on camera, so maybe he's sleeping on the side. But we have got one of our good friends and colleagues, and we're going to bring her up on screen right now. And her name is Kelsey.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Wow, we got the hello. Yeah. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here. And for those who may or may not know who you are, if you could give us a little summary in your background, please.
Yeah. So my name is Kelsey. I actually have been with Rapid SOS for technically about 4 years now. However, I've actually been with I Am Responding for 11 years now. So I came over when I'm Responding was acquired back in 2022 and have been loving this dream ever since. My coworker who is sometimes on camera with me, he did go and move over to his couch, but I am also the handler of Chief Purpose. So if you've seen him on Instagram or at our shows, or maybe you've actually had me in your ECC, I live with Chief. He really kind of runs my life, but now I actually am the director of the field responder unit here. So I oversee I Am Responding and e-dispatches and kind of handle all sorts of random things that come up with both of those products.
Perfect. Awesome. And we are excited to have you here and to go through these couple episodes, because I feel like there is definitely a way that we can connect a lot of dots with you as well. So
Definitely.
Man, a lot going on in episode 13 and 14. Keely, you sent me some notes late last night. I was sitting there with my kids playing a game, my older kids playing a horror game. And I read your notes and I thought, I haven't seen the episode yet. I'm going to throw that out of my head because I was halfway through episode 13. And I had to stop because we had so much stuff that we were doing yesterday between lives and content creation, posts, uploading, downloading, exporting, all of the oding. Anything
It's
with
so
an
true.
ing.
It was so chaotic the last couple of days. So absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
all the owning.
Yeah, all of it. So let's jump right in with some of your notes, because one of these, we talk about job security, and I won't say what the rest of your note says, but I have a feeling that first note might have to do with a flag that was in a chest.
It could, and it was multiple things that had happened
Okay.
on these episodes,
All
but
right,
like
break it down.
Santos says something very specifically, and she's like, I actually commend her. One of the patients had done something, like followed some Instagram naturalists or whatever, and ended up making herself very sick by taking something that was not, not used. But it like starts with this, but like it's the whole episode encompassing all of these strange things that are coming in. And basically Santos is like, well, I commend her because, our job security depends on these big effing idiots. And I just started laughing because I feel like there are so many times that we have said that in our dispatch center where we take a call in and it's like questionable behavior by our common citizen, and we're just kind of like, well, we'll just chalk that up to job security and we'll leave it at that. So it was like, I think I laughed a little bit harder than I should have at that scene, because it's like, the thing of it is that I think our citizens are trying to do things the best they can. And in this episode, there's this, the night shift is coming on, right? And it's like, it's getting later in the day. Things are getting the calls are getting different. And this is something I've always said, is that when I worked as a nighttime dispatcher, if the call rang at night, it was more likely to be something than nothing. Where like during the day, it's a lot of pocket dials, a lot of like, not really emergencies, things like that. But on the night shift, if that phone is ringing at 1:00 in the morning, there is a good chance it is something. And so you're seeing this shift of the types of patients that are coming in, the types of emergencies that are now flowing in. It's not really like the sick person anymore. It's more of like the extreme asthma, the injured party from this is 4th of July, the injured party from the 4th of July party. You're seeing motor vehicle accidents. You're seeing all of these things. And this one guy comes in and he's got the American flag. Oh, we forgot to say spoiler alert, by the way. If you guys did not watch the last two episodes.
16 minutes in now. Spoiler
alert.
People.
Anyway.
You should know this by now. This is like episode 80 out of this 6 months.
Yes. So like he comes in with this flag like through his chest, and the other guy comes in and he's had a bottle to his face, and they'd fought, and this is like everybody's been drinking all day. Things are starting to change. They're starting to become more traumatic incidents
through the side of the face.
Side of the face, right? So like you're seeing that like the shift is starting to happen, where these incidents are becoming more trauma driven than medically driven, right? So like, and this is a very true sentiment of emergencies as a whole, right? But like when she says that and she's like job security, I thought of every single patient that was currently sitting in their ER, every caller I ever had where I was like, that was stupid, but like you resonate with that so much, because that job security, that it's like, I don't mean to sound like that, but there's a lot of times where like, well, that probably could have been prevented, And so like when I heard her say that, and then like taking a quick assessment of like all of the things that were happening over the 2 episodes, it's like, that's exactly it.
It's very true. It makes me think of, and I mean, this is no offense to anybody, I've done some stupid shit myself, but if anyone has ever watched like the Jackass movies, one of the songs that they play, especially in the 2 most recent ones, there's a song on there that it might be just part of their theme at the end of the movie when they're showing some of the other stuff. The song has a lyric that says, if you're gonna be dumb, you've got to be tough. And and it shows them doing all this stuff. And watching the episode, it made me think of years ago when I was, I don't know, maybe 8, and it was the 4th of July, and my cousins had black cats. And if you remember, some of those had smaller wicks, and they would go really fast and just pop. and they were holding on to them and then throwing them, and they kept saying, "Come on, Richie, you can do it too." I was like, "No, I don't really want to." And then they finally convinced me. But I didn't notice that this one, and they didn't notice either, that it had a smaller wick. So they lit it, and I'm still holding it, and I let go just as it popped. And I remember like the powder and everything on my hands. Now, it would have been worse, but I let it go. And that was that's one of those moments. You're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. And years later, around 4th of July, my friends and I have bottle rockets, and they were holding on to them, and mine didn't fly, and everything just went all over my hand, like the sparks screwed up my hand. And about 30 minutes later, like after that, I had a baseball game, and I was a catcher, and it was that hand that I was in pain the whole day. And I remember telling my dad, and he goes, "Well, do it again." He's like, "Do it again. If you're going to be stupid, do it again." And I was like, "No, I don't want to be stupid." And he goes, "Lesson learned then, huh? Get in there. You're the catcher." And I kicked ass at that game. But either way, it reminded me of that. Like, dang, there are, people are just living life, and sometimes you don't really think, and that happens. But yeah, like you were saying, resonates with what Santos was saying. For the both of you, thinking back to your days, whether it be dispatch, EMT, fire, whichever, what was 4th of July like for you?
One 4th of July, we did a bingo card because we were like, let's see what we get. So we definitely had, I have pictures of that 4th of July bingo, and we were all holding the 4th of July bingo card. But yeah, it's definitely a different animal for sure. I mean, Kelsey, you come from the fire service. So what was it like for you guys?
Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that. So I started out my career as a firefighter when I was 17 years old. So I didn't come into this world blind. I knew exactly what I was getting into. And for me, I grew up in I call it a small town. And thankfully, we didn't have, I don't want to say a ton, because, everybody has a lot of calls on the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. And, it's one of those things, everybody does dumb things in their lives. It's just a matter of, do you get caught to the point where you need emergency services, or do you skate by? Because Ricardo, you definitely could have turned out like the kid in a couple of episodes ago that lost his fingers, right?
Yes.
And right. And the thing is like, that happens to everybody. It's just a matter of how badly did it happen to you? Mm-hmm. And, every day is, I don't want to say predictable, because in emergency response, nothing is really truly predictable. However, there are patterns. On the 4th of July, you're going to have likely scenarios of calls that you're going to get, things you're going to see, that you can make a bingo card. It is just kind of how it is. And the thing too is like days of the week versus weekends versus holidays and not holidays all come into play. And so, you something I really appreciate about this show is that they really, in my opinion, depict what that arch of the day kind of looks like. The beginning of the day, you see a lot of calls from nursing homes, from, elderly people waking up and having issues and going into the hospital. Then you start to see the, as the morning progresses, you start to see the people who maybe it's not very urgent, or they've been sitting on something for a while that they should have had taken care of prior, that now they're coming in. And then into the evening, you start to see, especially this holiday, you see the things that nobody wants to go into the hospital on a holiday. Like, that's not your goal. And so for the 4th of July in particular, you're going to probably avoid the hospital if you can that day. But at the same time, like, there's the calls that you can't avoid. And that's when we start seeing this influx of the ambulance calls. And the other thing that I really love, like you've already said, Keely, is they say what a lot of us are thinking. And if you've been in this game for any length of time, you have taken a call that you are like, well, yep, that's job security. And as horrible as it is something that, like, in emergency response, we all kind of end up with a dark humor. And you see that in Robbie as he's kind of, you're watching his burnout really come to life, and you're watching those things. And he says, I guess I don't have a filter anymore. And
yeah.
Yep. That checks out. And unfortunately, that is a very real reality in all of emergency response.
It's very true. It's like talking to my kids about certain things. Like, I don't sugarcoat things with them because I want them to know the reality of one thing that I've been saying to them. I said it as a joke, but the funny thing after that was that there were some things that happened that they did, and I just said it again, and they just looked at me like, okay. But it was your decisions have consequences. And and I said it jokingly. I don't even remember what it was. And I said, well, your decision had a consequence. And then there were a couple things after that, and it happened. And I was like, this is just fitting. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. But yeah, with the filter and stuff, and their mom would look at me every now and then, just like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just being honest with them. And the first time I can remember, and I'll just say this really quick, and we can, there's something that I want to put on screen here in just a moment. But Logan, who's 22 now, he had to have been maybe 5 or 6. And he was jumping on the couch. And I had said to him, I said, hey, stop jumping on the couch. 1, it's not what it's for. But 2, I don't want you to get hurt. And he's just kind of still bouncing a little bit. And I was like, look, I don't want you to fall and break your leg and have your bone hanging out or something and bleeding all over the place. I'm going to grill today, and I don't want to have to take you to the ER. And and I started laughing, and and he sits down, and his mom's like, Rich. And I was like, listen, I've taken enough calls with kids that stuff happens. I just want him to know what could happen. So get this, the following weekend, a friend of ours, her daughter came and stayed with us and hung out with Logan for the afternoon. And she's jumping on the couch, and he's just sitting on the couch looking at me, and then looking at her, and then looking at me. And I said, Elise, I stop jumping on the couch. And I told her something similar, and she goes, wait, what? And Logan goes, my dad's serious. He loves to grill. He's not going to take you to the ER. And after he did that, I went, oh no. So as soon as her mom got there, I said, hey, you might hear this, so I'm just going to tell you right now. And she started busting up laughing. Thank God she had a good sense of humor. But she goes, I probably would have said something similar. I was like, okay, cool. We're cool. But yeah, with that filter, just like Dr. Robbie, I mean, sometimes it just comes out. And sometimes you just got to be real with people for them to understand.
Yep.
For sure. The gallows humor is real. Like, and getting through some of these holiday shifts because you're missing family, friends, you're missing birthday parties, so sometimes doing something to entertain yourselves or find the humor in it lightens the load a little bit because you're going to get busy. There's Exhibit A on what we did. And if you see the free square in the middle is actually not free, it's fireworks, because we know we're going to get that complaint.
Oh,
yep.
That is perfect.
So that was right the free square.
Perfect. I love it.
But that is awesome. That was my shift when I first started working there. It was an incredible crew. I actually just saw Mike yesterday, but yeah, that was our bingo card, and we did this because it's like very close to my kid's birthday, so I was missing a holiday, like all the things, and it was like, let's do something to lighten the load of what's going to happen this evening. But the first person that won, everybody else had to buy them coffee. That was like,
oh. So maybe he didn't want to win it then.
yeah. So it was cool. It was fun.
So, something else that happens, or at least happened before, that we kind of compared the technology and everything and what it's like, is when your system goes down. And what do you do when the system goes down and you end up going back to pen and paper, or as they did in the show, a whiteboard? And luckily enough, they had someone there who had a photographic freaking memory and could go through all of that because, excuse me, Whitaker ends up taking a picture, but the picture's all blurry and crappy. But one of the other folks that are there, they end up being able to fill it all out. Well, now the systems have come back online. And here was a comparison that made me bust up laughing, was when the systems come back and everyone's like, oh, so we don't have to really do anything anymore. And someone goes, no. Now you have to go through and fill in all of those spots. And I started laughing because it made me think of things that we've talked about in the past, where when you have a trainee and after they have that moment of realization that you're back using tablets, stone tablets to do everything, to put everything in, now that the system is back up, you have to manually fill out every single one of those complaints. So I had a good laugh when that happened, because everyone was acting like, all right, the worst is over. Well, there's still more that comes to it. What did you guys think of that?
Go ahead, Kelsey. Go ahead.
To me, that is like, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And so it's like one of those things where, like, especially when you go to pen and paper, like, it makes things so much more complicated when you aren't used to that. And so, specifically on the fire side and in the responder space, we don't tend to write a lot of things down when it's happening, unless we're on an EMS call. And, thankfully a lot of this is EMS going in, but this also means that EMS on the road isn't getting information into the ER in a timely manner. And so, at one point, Robbie is yelling at the two paramedics about the lead placement on a female patient and how she had a STEMI and they didn't catch it. And those types of things, like, as we are progressing rapidly in emergency response, it's that type of stuff is, they could have had that information in advance if things were up and running, but they wouldn't have even had it because the placement was wrong on top of it. And so, like he says, bad data is shit data. And that to me is probably my favorite quote so far this season, because that is something that we as a company live and breathe and are trying to fix and move forward. And so going from everything is shut down, kind of analog, we don't really have good information, we're trying to collect as much as we can, things are getting missed, that highlights the importance of getting the data, A, having the data, B, getting it in a timely manner so that other things aren't getting missed as they progress through the evening. And so, some people start to leave and not help with this problem. Other people are, kind of starting to, I don't want to say cop out, right? But you can start seeing some people like, I don't really want to do that, I'll go take some patients instead. And you see others diving in and trying to fix and take care of that problem so that the data is in and up to speed. And so it's really interesting the last couple of episodes as they're going from the paper to, let's also face it, like, my handwriting is bad. It's bad. I'm sure that they're used to that because doctors don't have the greatest handwriting reputation. I probably should have been a doctor. That was not in my cards. I didn't really love being an EMT, to be perfectly honest. That wasn't my thing. I really like going into the burning buildings. I know that about myself, and that's what I'll stick to. But boy, is it interesting watching how they go from no info, lots of misses, and try to come back from that.
Yeah, it's that whole scene right there. I was telling Keely I wasn't expecting to see what I saw on the scene, and but also to think about that as well. I remember when we went through like our CPR training for our protocols and stuff to get our certifications, and the people teaching saying, and I don't know, it's the future now. It's 2026. So I don't know. And also I'm a dude. So I don't know this. I don't know how common it is to have a wire bra now. So I remember there was something on TV, and it made me flash back to one of the classes where they had said, sometimes you're going to have to remove this because of the shock. It'll hit the wire and it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, and you'll have to remove it. And I remember standing there thinking, okay, all right. But whatever it was that I was watching on TV or show or something like that, I remember my kids were sitting there, and I said, there's always a possibility that you're going to have to remove their clothing and their bra. And my kids are like, wait, what? And then I explained it, and they're like, you know what? That makes sense. And I was like, I'm glad you guys understand that how that makes sense and everything. And I said, but I will say, in the beginning, when I was taught this, I thought, okay. I mean, at that point, you're thinking it's life or death. And just like Dr. Robbie says, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but it was like, would you rather, die because of, whatever, or do you want to live and have some, brief nudity or something like that? And everyone's like, we want to live.
Yeah.
And
all
he's
of
like,
the women.
there you go. Yeah. All the women were like, we want to live. And the two dudes are just, all right, note taken.
Yeah.
Because something bad could have happened for sure. Yeah. But that's an eye-opening moment. But that also goes along with where you're watching the breakdown of Dr. Robbie. But I'm glad for that part as well, that he just said it the way he said it, so that they would understand and be like, look, you just got to do what you have to do.
Yep.
Or when he's with Langdon in the room and he pops that dude's neck right back in, but he tells them, to me, what that reminded me of was being in dispatch. And I know I've shared this story before, but it really fits with this moment in the show, where I was just about to be done with training. And it was a domestic call that I was taking, and this old CAD system that we had, if you didn't have the incident type right, or the ORI or township code or whatever, you could not put it in. It would not go in. And for whatever reason, the incident type was DOME, which I was thinking it was just DV. They eventually changed it to just be DV because a lot of people were doing the same thing. And I remember covering my head, or my earpiece, or mouthpiece rather, and looking at my trainer and saying, hey, you're going to have to put this in because I'm taking too long and I can't get it in there. And she goes, no, you've got this. You can do this. And that's all I needed. It was like a nice little kick in the ass to get it done. Her mentality was, I'm going to let you take in some water, but I'm not going to let you drown. And in one of these episodes, there's this part where Langdon, he has been suffering with kind of people giving him crap throughout this whole season of him coming back after what happened to him with his addiction and everything. Some people don't want him there, and it started to affect him and impact him, kind of second guessing, like, maybe I shouldn't be back. He's the only one who has ever seen something like this be done. And Dr. Robbie looks at him, gets right in his face, and says, doctor the fuck up and just do it. And he did it, and he walked off. And I think we've probably had some trainees as well that when they get that moment, they have that smile and realization, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. And that's how I felt in that moment. I was like, well done, dude. Finally, after all of this, Dr. Robbie says to you, good job. How does it feel to get a good job?
Yeah, that's all he wanted the whole time too, was that recognition from him. So for sure, and that's evident in a lot of like the work that we do. Is there usually isn't an accolade, but man, is it great when you've done, like, you worked your ass off on a fire, and then the fire chief comes in afterwards and was like, great job on that, and it's important, because you're like, you never know if you did all the things you were supposed to do, because you hear all the things you don't do, right? And to the two paramedics that came in and put the leads in the wrong place, right? Like, yeah, that sucks, right? Like, but like, and you get abused and you get called out on that kind of stuff all the time. But how many times do we get the accolades? How many times do we get the good job, the pat on the back, And I think it's important that we do those things, especially in high stress circumstances, high stress jobs. It's like, I understand that it's important to fix something when it's wrong, but it's also just as equally important to tell somebody when they've done it right, because now they know that they've made that accomplishment, like they've done the thing that they're supposed to do, that they're meant to do. And it really does. You get, what is it? You get more bees with honey, right? And like when you do that, like you're getting them to do the work, better, because they now know that they've got the confidence to do the thing that they're supposed to be doing. So if we actually led with that first, there's supposed to be that, like that criticism sandwich, good, bad, good, right? But it's like,
yeah, the
right?
Oreo cookie theory.
yes, right? Like something like that. But maybe we just find more of those good parts and stop honing so far into the bad parts, for sure. I mean, in this situation, their systems have come back online, and now, like to Kelsey's point, some people are like, bye, and it's like we're obviously going to hang on to that because that's the bad thing. But what about like Dr. King, Whitaker? Like they all jump in and they're like, all right, we're scanning this stuff in, like after a 5-day cat outage, I had to put all of our calls in, and I was the only person who did it because nobody wanted to do it. But like nobody came over and was like, hey, atta girl, I was drained. I didn't want to see a CAD system again after that incident. So it's just as important, for sure.
Yeah. It's also really important for the confidence piece, right? Like, I do think, we all want to be told good job, like you're doing a great job, but to also get the feedback of like, this is why you did a good job, builds confidence. Mm-hmm. And especially like when we're talking about those two paramedics, like the other thing that we need to remember is that when he starts yelling at them, he said, like 30 minutes ago, you guys brought in this other person. Like they're going on call after call after call. Like sometimes those things blur together, and sometimes it's really difficult to, kind of separate that as the shift goes on and as things are kind of, you get into this mode where you're almost on autopilot. And so sometimes getting that attaboy, attagirl, like not only does it kind of give you a brief moment to kind of break up from call to call, but it also gives you confidence to move into the next call and know that you can handle something at that rate of speed.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's so many different moments that happen between these episodes, and just kind of thinking about the technology piece and getting information as fast as possible, and also how to get that information over to the hospital to help them as well. I think there's a good spot there where there's a family reunion that's been going on throughout this episode, and this is just a family that showed up early on, and then they leave. Well, they end up coming back. And I think, like in dispatch, we could flag some of that information potentially, and then like push it through whatever, way to do it through technology. And because they're there talking with the person at the desk, and he's like, you've got all my information already. I was here earlier. And they take the bandage off of his hand, and there's a chunk of rope that's like dug into almost the middle of his hand. And when it showed that and I looked at it, I thought, hell no. Because I say this too, because growing up, almost every weekend, we would go to my aunt and uncle's house. They lived right next door to each other, and they had a bunch of land there, and all of us would gather. You're talking like 30 or so people and friends and neighbors, and we would just grill. And one of the big things that we would do is play tug of war. And I remember I would wrap that around like my arm or something, or, my body, especially if you're towards the back with a bunch of people, and start pulling and pulling and pulling. And sometimes people would fall forward and the other team is still pulling on you. So when I saw that with that old man, I thought, I have to rethink how I play tug of war now. Because he wrapped it around his hand and they kept pulling and it ripped right into his hand. Now, also, he's an older gentleman. He's diabetic. I don't remember what other stuff he has. So, that could, make his skin a little more soft, right? And susceptible to something like that happening. But either way, having that information right off the bat and pushing it forward to be like, this person is coming in and this is what it looks like, I think could help the situation. But I mean, he wasn't bleeding out or anything, but all I'm saying is that when they took that off, I thought, wow. I don't know. What were your thoughts? Either one of you?
You're mentioning this is the same family that was playing pill roulette on their table earlier.
Yes.
And like they had to like send the family home to go take pictures and FaceTime, right? And this is something we had talked about with the technology piece, right? Like, wouldn't that have been really helpful for dispatch to catch on the front end? But then there's like this piece, and this is where we should dive into technology a little bit, right? There's this piece of like first response and field response, right? Like where the call takers are getting this information, the data's coming in, and to Kelsey's point, bad data is shit data, right? Like if we're not getting the information that we could get and to better serve the field responders that are going to be out there, and then ultimately, and we've had Mir on the show from Avive, like in the STEMI situation, they're able to send those rhythms, the heart rhythms, into the hospital, and it can alert whatever teams they need to be on standby. But like there's available data, there's ways to get this information out and ways to push it all the way through. And that's sort of why we have Kelsey here to like connect those dots for us. Like how could this go better? We're talking about pill roulette, but there's so many other calls where this stuff would matter. It would have mattered in that situation too, because maybe you'd be able to identify something he might have taken. But it's just, there's so much data that's available out there. And then like, how do we get it out there? And then conversely, how do we get it in with charting and all those things that goes into the ER,
Yeah. So great point. So, thinking about the hand situation, right? Like, and what that family is dealing with. Presumably, they're probably doing this at a large park. They're probably doing it in somebody's backyard who's got some space, because they talk about all these things that they're doing, which means that they're probably not super addressable locations. And that's really where Rapid SOS and I'm responding in e-dispatches and where technology really started to bring all of these things together, and where this ecosystem really shines, right? And there is so much information that is stored everywhere about people anywhere, right? And so like, I know that I can go to my pharmacy's app and I can pull up when I last ordered my prescriptions and what I have and all of that. And so if we are connecting those systems and all of that information together, like that helps save time, which is really what we as responders need. We need to be able to make quick decisions, make the best decision with the information that we have, and hopefully save a life with that. And so really bringing it together is the power. It is, from the call taker getting that information and asking the right questions, going through the right protocols, getting all of the information that the responders need first and foremost, because they're the ones going there, making sure that when they get off of the apparatus, they're grabbing the right tools, because we already are carrying so much weight in stuff, right? Whether you're fire, EMS, police, there is weight associated with uniforms. So whatever we don't need to grab helps, both because we're going to also have to bring a patient, probably. We're going to have to do something that's going to require some more added weight coming back to the apparatus. And so knowing first and foremost as much information about that call as possible in advance, and we can do that through we have a companion product I am responding called MyLS, where community members can put their information into a secure platform that they get to choose what responders have access to. They can put in there that there is an elderly person in their home that if their house catches on fire, this is the room that they are in, and this is what support they need to get out. And that saves so much time. One of the hardest things for firefighters in particular during a fire incident is knowing how many people are inside and weighing the risk of, do we put somebody at risk going to search the house? And you have a very small window of time to make that decision and execute, because fires nowadays are burned so much faster and hotter than they did previously because of synthetic materials. So knowing that stuff in advance and at least having a place to start helps significantly. Then once you get there, say you are pulling an elderly person out, knowing what medications they have, knowing what is interacting and things like that will help then, because if you're dealing with smoke inhalation, there are protocols for the EMTs as well. And so knowing all of that information, then being able to relay it to the emergency center that's going to be taking that patient in is so critical, because time saves lives. It's the golden hour. There's a reason that we have those things, and where things are time based. We know we have so much data to back it up. It's putting that data into action now.
Oh man, I'm so glad that we had you on today. It's just so much good information, and the experience, the comparison, the going back and forth. I love your perspective on it and putting it through. So thank you for being here and explaining. And there have been a lot of moments on this show where we have compared, where we have gone through with the technology. We were able to talk to, like you had mentioned, Keely with Mir, and see how he, does everything, the thought process behind having AEDs all over the place, and just how much better it is now, especially with technology, to be able to save a life, to not just save seconds, but save minutes, and to continue to move forward. And I guess as we kind of go into this wrap up here, there's something I want to touch on, something that it's been shown throughout a lot of the season, especially these last couple episodes. There have been certain characters where you see them starting to reach breaking points, where you see the conversations between some of them are coming to a head, and then also them apologizing to each other and actually having that conversation. And you see also Dr. Robbie starting to break down even more so. You see more of his character doing things like this and trying to just kind of get through it. You see him start to tear up at a lot of moments. He's got a friend right now who, if he does not get this specific care, he could have an aortic aneurysm. And he's telling him, but what he's afraid of is that if he does go on his sabbatical, he leaves for his 3 months, that his friend, like maybe his friend isn't going to be there when he comes back. And there was something that stuck out when the both of them are talking outside, and he has him checking over his motorcycle, because that was something that happened as well. EMS rolls in, and he thought he had a clear way through. It ends up hitting Dr. Robbie's motorcycle, which he was mad. And when he ends up going in to tell them it's all right, don't worry about it, one of the EMTs says, I thought he was going to be more mad. The other one says, I thought you were going to have to take a punch. which
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, that he was going to punch him. But when they're out there talking, when Dr. Robbie's talking with his friend, he says something to the effect of, "Oh, I wish I would have written down what he said," because they're talking about him wanting to leave and not sure if he can come back. And he says, "Well, um,
I'm not sure I want to be here. I'm not sure I want to be anywhere.
he says that, yes, there is that part as well. But his friend says something to him like, it's easier to be in there and harder to leave, or something like that. And
Yeah.
that I resonated with as well, because sometimes you feel like you can't leave. And Dr. Robbie says, I feel more comfortable in there than anywhere else. Like, that's where he feels comfortable being. And I think sometimes in our profession, not just 911, but in public safety in general, sometimes we identify so much with that it's almost scary to be on the other side. And this is a weird thing to bring up now, but the Shawshank Redemption, like when he's talking about being institutionalized, like you get so used to a
Yeah.
place that when you go to get out there, you don't know who you are anymore. And you see a lot of people go through this. And I feel like that's what he's going through as well, is if he goes, because he says this to a few people, like, if I end, what happens when you leave? And he goes, then I hope that I can teach these folks enough so that they can carry it on when I'm gone. And he says, well, what happens if you do that and you are gone? And that's when he's like, I'm not sure I want to be here at all. So you start hearing him talk about these things, and some of the other characters kind of breaking down, coming to their breaking points. And the reason I bring this up too is because it made me think about myself when I was in dispatch, and I had to try to figure out how to work on me, because I was going through a burnout. I was going through all of these different things, but nobody's talking about it. Basically, it's just like, suck it up, man. Like, just keep moving, just keep going. And you see this happening with these characters as well. And when he said, I feel more comfortable in there, it made me think about the fact that I went back to school, and that was my way of coming back into it. And I say that because there were all of these projects that I was doing. Everything that I do for a living started out in school. But back then, what I thought was killing me on the inside, which was the profession, is actually what saved me, because of all of these projects that I was doing. And it made me realize and kind of work on myself on what I needed to do. And it was my own version of therapy, which was talking and sharing and communicating. And there's a scene towards the end of episode 13 where they're looking for Ogilvy, and he had made a mistake. He didn't catch something, and that patient ends up dying. But it wasn't like a blatant miss. He went through every single thing, but there was one thing that the patient didn't mention, so he didn't think to look into that part. So it wasn't his blame, but he took that blame. And one of the nurses, brand new, she goes to leave for the day and sees him sitting out there all in blood, just staring off into a void. And Whitaker goes out there, and he finds him, sits next to him, sits in the mud with him, so to speak, and asks him if he's okay. And he's just kind of staring, and he's like, yeah. But Whitaker, like, continues to talk with him. He doesn't just let it go. He continues to talk. And he says, listen, when I was first starting out, when I was first here, and he shares a story with him. And Ogilvy says, I don't know if I can do this again. I don't know if I could take another day like this. He goes, does it get any easier? And Whitaker says, no. He goes, you just kind of learn to accept it, accept death, and find the balance in it. And I think the balance that Whitaker is talking about is a lot of those characters, him including, where there's a part where he's looking for something and there's a lady that's there who's getting ready to go home, but she has no ride home. So he jumps up right away, really quick, and offers to get a lift for her, puts it on his account. He's like, it's on me. And when he walks off, he has a smile on his face and he goes, I could use some good karma today. And I think that's what, or how we can find some of that balance as well, is in those good things that we do, that there are some rewarding moments. Now, with Whitaker, I will say that he ended up getting a $200 charge and a complaint on his account, but it was the fact that he tried. And there is that balance between the light and the dark. And what I'm getting at as well with all of this that is going on is that a lot of us have shared, a lot of us have talked and really communicating with each other. And I think all around, not just in 911, but in all of public safety, that we can continue to make a difference if we can continue to try our best to talk with each other and find more that can be done with everything that goes on with it, with our mental health and wellness and everything, because something that's not shared a lot, and this has been bothering me, and I mentioned it to Keely earlier today, it has been said throughout social media that there are, for this year, 6 911 professionals who have taken their own life. And someone out there had said, sharing stories is not enough. Talking about it is not enough. EAP is not enough because it's outdated. More needs to happen. There needs to be more voices talking about it. Now, I will say, I don't know any circumstances of any of those things that are going on. I don't know if it had to do with mental health and wellness. I don't know if it had to do with anybody, their home life. I don't know. But just from either one of you, with everything that I've said here, what are your thoughts? Like, what else can be done if not just continuing to communicate as much as possible? Because again, you see this throughout these seasons, and especially in these last 2 episodes, where people are just talking and talking, or at least trying to communicate. But you also see, like with Dana and Dr. Robbie, she sees something is happening. And she sees that he's breaking down and he's not listening to her. And sometimes we have these metaphorical headphones that are on and we don't listen to those who are trying to help us. But Dana tries to send someone else who's closer, someone else that Dr. Robbie might listen to. So what are your thoughts?
Something that I think is pretty consistent in that show is the constant communication. Like they're reaching in. They continuously reach into each other, even if it's gallows humor or, something to lighten the load a little bit, or, like Santos is super sarcastic through everything. Right. Yeah. So but she also is like, there's like these check-ins, like her and Whitaker are kind of going through this, like, she doesn't want him to go because she's used to him being there. Right. So like, but he's identifying it and he tries to be like, just say the words, right? And she won't, but he identifies it and is now accepting it, and he's going to do it anyway, right? And it's because he's seeing it, he's looking, he's feeling, he's understanding, he's hearing it, even if she's not saying it. And I think sometimes, and I agree, our EAP systems are a little outdated. We don't do enough of reaching in. It's more like, it's not my problem, or they didn't tell me anything about it. They, they're not, but like, especially your leadership, your roles, like, it's okay to have difficult conversations and it's okay to reach in, because you don't know what you might impact by, hey, I'm identifying that something doesn't seem okay and I want to talk to you. Like, and if it's not okay, we're going to figure out how to make it okay. And like being able to, like you said, sit in the mud. Sitting in the mud with somebody and identifying and acknowledging that things aren't always going to be 100% okay, but on the other side of it, they just might, and it's going to be okay, but we're all going to sit in this mud together. And, it's not going to be a kumbaya session because people are going to die, right? Like that's what Whitaker says. People are going to die. Like this is part of that. You're not going to beat it, but it's how you learn to accept it, and then finding those highlights, the good points, of what it is. We just talked about this earlier about finding the accolades, finding the good things, the attaboys, and really leaning into those. It's the same as finding, what? There's really sucky things that happen here, but there's also really cool things that happen here that I get to do, and really leaning into those moments as well. And I think we need to do more reaching in for each other and not just backing off when somebody says I'm okay, or I don't want to talk about it. Like, okay, you don't have to talk about it now, but we're going to talk about it later. And that'd be really annoying.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think Whitaker is probably one of the most underrated characters on the show because he, like, we saw him last season, basically his day one, I think, see Robbie having a panic attack, and he stepped in and he kind of blocked for Robbie, and he supported him and sometimes support isn't going and sitting down and talking to them or telling them it's going to be okay. Sometimes it's just sitting in silence and just being there, being present. And a lot of what Chief and I do, like, there's a reason his name is Chief Purpose. He helps to bring back the purpose, right? And for me, he's a huge, he's a physical reminder that, we all have a purpose. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way, especially when you are in that kind of a situation. And, I think that the show depicts it very kind of in your face. If you know what burnout looks like, and if you've seen that, if you've felt it, you know what's happening, you kind of see it, but not everybody knows or has seen it like that. And so I think too, a lot of it brings it to light. It kind of shows, a single day arch of him going through that. And, he has great relationships with a lot of the people he's making comments to, right? But he keeps telling them, I have to deal with other things right now. My mental health doesn't matter. He is saying, I have to put everybody else's mask on as the plane goes down. I'm not worried about myself. And that is something that, as first responders, we are used to dealing with the emergency as it's unfolding. We are used to taking charge. It's a lot of type A personalities. It is, I need to focus on doing this. It is so easy to forget that you have your own stuff, and sometimes you need to let somebody else take control for a couple of minutes so you can take some solitude. And being okay with that, and knowing that just because you have a bad couple of minutes, just because you're having a bad day or a bad week, doesn't mean that there aren't rainbows on the other side, right? And sometimes we just need somebody to remind us of that. And, well, you might be the person that is helping somebody, and you might be frustrated that you don't feel like you're breaking through. You probably are making an impact. You just don't know it. And so don't stop trying. Sometimes, if the Dana approach isn't working and calling it as you see it, maybe the Whitaker approach makes more sense. And I forgot the therapist's name, but I like, he's lingering, right? We see him every once in a while.
Yeah.
Hearing what's happening and going and trying. And Robbie's still shutting him out, but he made a breakthrough. He finally admitted what he's been hinting at. Mm-hmm. And that is a huge step, in my opinion, forward for him, saying it out loud, because saying it out loud sometimes does trigger something different. You might be thinking it in your head that I'm burned out. You might be, you might be in a Robbie world, but sometimes saying it out loud to somebody you trust can actually make a huge difference. And it's really important to, to start trying to at least identify. Does not mean you have to be okay today. It doesn't mean you have to be okay tomorrow. Sometimes we live hour by hour. Sometimes we live day by day. And sometimes we can plan months and years in advance. But being honest with yourself and with others about where you are at in that journey is hugely important.
Fully agree. And with that said, we come to the end of this episode, and I wanted to make sure that the three of us kind of focused on that, especially because of the week that this week is, and also that, you know, we've all been there in a sense where we have had to either sit in the mud with someone or have someone sit in the mud with us. And for those out there, you're not alone, and there are people around you who care, and the support really is out there. There's so much more resources out there now, especially so many more conversations that are happening, and we'll just continue to do what we do. So thank you all for being here with us. This has been a lot of fun, and this whole season has been just nuts. It has been really good just to see the character development, and we have our last episode that is coming up next week. Please, Lord, let me have good internet. I'm going to be in a hotel next week, so hopefully it works out. We're also going to have a special guest with us, hopefully as well, and we are going to go over the entire final episode, talk about the week. And you know, one of the things that that I want to mention, and actually I'm going to push this over to Keely to mention a few things here before we fully wrap this up.
Oh, thank you. He did that because I put it in the chat. So
yes,
but now he's going to be like, you just do it. So don't forget that we have Innovation Day coming up. Innovation Day is April 29th. It is 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. So please make sure that you go in there, you sign up for Innovation Day. And then there's also a premiere event. We launched our new partnership and investor with Jeremy Renner. So there is a premiere event that is later that afternoon. So please make sure you join us for that. And also, if you are a Rapid SOS user and you belong to our community, you could join us today to learn all about Northern 911. We'll be going live with them at 2 p.m. And this has been a really great episode, a really, really great time. Kelsey, I'm glad you were able to join us. But this was really last minute, everybody. I tagged her in last night and she was like, oh, sure. So
happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you were here. Don't forget, next week is our final episode. We have a guest coming in. And this has been it's been so much fun to share all of this and making the connection with all of you guys. So glad you're here. I hope you've had the best National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. It's such a long sentence, and I can't ever say it without slurring my words.
I'm right there with you. It seems like I bite my tongue when I'm saying it. So, but either way, thank you all again for joining us, and a big shout out to Rapid SOS for bringing us in to be able to do all of this together. And if you have not watched any of the seasons that are out, make sure to check out The Pit, and that streams every Thursday, 9 p.m. And actually, the season finale was last night, so you get to wait until another year or whenever when the next season comes out. But either way, you can stream them all now 24/7 on HBO Max. And again, shout out to Rapid SOS, Safer Together, the leading AI company in public safety. That was Most Important Seconds after The Pit, and that was covering episodes 13 and 14. And it was interesting how, you know, as I mentioned, you know, was really thinking about all of this that's been going on with 911 professionals, and how there are too many of us to feel that we are alone, and we just need to communicate with each other more and reach out more and check on our people more. There's so much that can be done. But it was interesting that at the end of episode 13, in what I talk about there with those characters, Whitaker and Ogilvy, and how they're just sitting together, sitting in the mud together, just talking, communicating, sharing stories, so that the other person feels better and knows that they're not alone and that there are people out there to help them. I feel like that part was really meant to be. But thank you everyone for tuning in, and also for all of those who have tuned in to Most Important Seconds. We had been doing that every Friday since the beginning of the season, which I believe was back in January. It was a while back, so it was a lot of fun to do, and we've got one last episode that'll be coming up. And as of the time that this comes out, it'll be in 2 days. It'll be in 2 days, which I believe will be the 24th that that'll happen. As long as the internet is good where I'm at in the hotel, because currently I'm at the Navigator Conference. So it's funny recording this and having to talk about future events. Either way, thank you all very, very much for tuning in and your support as always. And this episode has been supported by and sponsored by as well. By Rapid SOS, Safer Together, the leading AI company in public safety. And a big shout out to subscribers as always, and especially all of you who are here watching, listening, supporting, sharing, all of it. Thank you so very much. And this can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn Live. You can also catch clips of the podcast on Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, and TikTok. And if you ever want to be a guest on the show, whether you are new, seasoned, or you are retired, I would love to share your story. I've been doing this for over a decade. It is my passion, and I would love to share it to the world. So you can simply go to links, and that's links with 2i's.co/IM911, and you will find everything there. My email, social media, where to follow, where to hear the latest episodes of Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the Imagine Listening podcast. And there's also a link right underneath that so that you can schedule an episode with me. It's connected to my calendar, and easy peasy. It works right through there. Underneath that, you'll find a link for the free community, The Trenches, where there are over 200 hours of continuing education there between all types of virtual events, live broadcast panels with the Dispatchers Roundtable. The replays are all there, and then the Public Safety Showcase is there as well. Again, all for free. So make sure to check it out. And then if you're looking for the Imagine Listening books, Volume 1 and 2, you can find links there for Amazon, or really anywhere that you buy your books, you can find it. And then at the very bottom, you've got the link for podcast and dispatch merch. So you can check all that out there. Once again, it is links with 2i's.co/IM911. Have a good one, everyone. We will see you all in the next one. And to listen 24/7, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Cheers.
Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.